Delaware is one of the most unique states in the country. While it's small in both size and population, it's not for being isolated. In fact, the state is right in the middle of the Northeast Corridor, a region of the country with over 50 million people. So why does Delaware have so few people, despite being in one of the most populated regions of the country? Hello and welcome to Geography by Geoff. Today we're off to explore the very unique but often forgotten state of Delaware. Because while Delaware is an important state with a long history in the United States, it's often not thought about in the same way as Pennsylvania, Maryland, or New Jersey. It also happens to be squished in an area that's home to major cities such as Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and New York City. And we're going to explore why Delaware never became home to a major city of its own today. But first, because you're interested in this topic, you should definitely check out my podcast episode on the geography of the English language. In particular, we talk at length about how the language evolved and grew within the United States. You can listen to it right after this video by clicking this link, or check out the description below. Delaware, a small but historically significant state, has a rich history that predates European colonization. The region was originally inhabited by Native American tribes such as the Lenape and Nanticoke, who lived off the land by hunting, fishing, and farming. The Nanticoke tribe would first come in contact with English captain John Smith in 1608, though Smith would not settle in the area, choosing Virginia instead. The first Europeans to arrive and settle in the Delaware area would be the Dutch, led by Henry Hudson in 1609. The Dutch established a trading post, Zwanendale, near present-day Lewes in 1631 at the mouth of the Delaware Bay. However, the initial settlement was short-lived due to conflicts with Native Americans that would lead to the deaths of all the colonists. After Zwanendale was destroyed, the area became home to Swedish colonists, establishing the colony of New Sweden in 1638, centered on Fort Christina, now Wilmington. Their influence introduced new forms of governance and trade, but also led to conflicts with the Dutch, who would eventually reconquer the area in 1655 and end Sweden's brief foray into American colonization. Unfortunately for their efforts, the Dutch's renewed rule wouldn't last long. A short 9 years later in 1664, the English would conquer the area and force the Dutch out of the Americas once and for all. In 1682, the Delaware region came under English control and became part of the larger Pennsylvania colony governed by William Penn. Penn sought to establish a colony based on religious freedom and democratic principles, and Delaware became a haven for Quakers, Catholics, and other religious minorities that were persecuted in England. But while Delaware was officially part of Pennsylvania, William Penn offered a unique governance model where legislation would meet in Philadelphia and Newcastle to represent the upper counties of Pennsylvania and the lower counties of Delaware. But as Philadelphia grew and became a prominent trading hub, legislators from Pennsylvania grew tired of having to travel so far south to Delaware for frequent assembly meetings. As such, Delaware began to hold its own legislative assembly in 1704 and eventually separated from Pennsylvania, becoming its own colony. During the American Revolutionary War, Delaware was a strong supporter of independence. Caesar Rodney's famous ride to Philadelphia ensured Delaware's unanimous vote for the Declaration of Independence. Delaware was also the first state to ratify the U.S. Constitution on December 7, 1787, earning it the nickname, the First State. Delaware has a long history, and it's deeply connected to the region it exists in, the Northeast Corridor. Despite this, few people ever consider the first state as a place to move to. And as usual, there's a geographic reason for this. And hey, if you're enjoying this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button. More fun geography videos are just a single click away. But first, today's episode is sponsored by Incogni. Much in the way people move around the world, so too does your data. When you visit different websites, make new accounts, or even buy things online, your data is getting captured, analyzed, and sold to buyers all over the world. And when so many organizations have your personal information, it becomes inevitable that some nefarious entity will eventually get access to it. Headlines like this are pretty common these days. About 2 months ago, I had my data stolen, and it's been an unending amount of work to stop criminals from stealing my identity. It was and continues to be very stressful. And I'm not alone either. According to the 2022 Annual Data Breach Report by the Identity Theft Resource Center, the number of identity theft victims have gone up nearly 41.5% from 2021, making it very hard to control and protect yourself online. This is why Incogni is such a great service. Incogni reaches out to those data brokers on your behalf, requests your personal data be removed, and deals with any objections from their side. And this process is done on your behalf by Incogni. You don't need to worry about doing anything yourself. Which is great because a lot of these companies are pretty resistant to letting go of any of your personal information. To get them started, simply create an account, grant them the right to work on your behalf, and then kick back and watch as your data disappears from the web. It's that easy. As part of this sponsorship, the first 100 people to use the code Geography by Geoff with the link below will get 60% off Incogni. So sign up today and be more proactive about securing your data. Nestled in the northeast corridor of the United States is the tiny state of Delaware. But while the state doesn't have very many people, its geography is surprisingly diverse, ranging from the rolling hills and mountainous region of Appalachia to the coastal plains, rivers, and marshes in the south. Covering just about 1,949 square miles, Delaware is the second smallest state in the US, behind Rhode Island. It's bordered by Pennsylvania to the north, Maryland to the west and south, and New Jersey and the Atlantic Ocean to the east. Almost the entirety of the state exists on the Delmarva Peninsula, an area that is also home to the states of Maryland on the western and central part, and Virginia on the far southern tip. The Delmarva Peninsula connects directly to mainland Virginia by way of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge and Tunnel, one of the longest bridge and tunnel systems in the world at 17.6 miles. And because the state exists mostly on a peninsula, it has a pretty expansive coastline, making it one of Delaware's most defining features. The Delaware Bay offers a rich aquatic environment and serves as an essential waterway for commerce and transportation. It connects to the larger Chesapeake Bay by way of the Chesapeake and Delaware Canal, providing a much shorter pathway from Baltimore to the Atlantic Ocean. Delaware's beaches, including popular spots like Rehoboth Beach and Bethany Beach, are major tourist attractions that drive the local economy. The Delaware Bay also connects to the Delaware River, which serves as a natural boundary with New Jersey. The river is crucial for commerce, transportation, and recreation, and it plays an important role in the state's ecology. It's this river that connects directly to Delaware's nearest major metropolitan area, Philadelphia. Finally, wetlands and marshes near the river and the bay are habitats for a diverse array of flora and fauna, making Delaware an important state for conservation efforts. Overall, Delaware's climate can be described as humid subtropical, characterized by hot, humid summers and mild winters. This climate is favorable for agriculture, another key part of the state's economy. The state is particularly known for poultry farming, as well as for crops like corn, soybeans, and a variety of fruits and vegetables. Despite its small size, Delaware's geographic features have had a significant impact on its development. And as we'll find out, the state's geography has played a key role in why so few people have made the state home as compared to Maryland, Pennsylvania, or New Jersey. Despite being strategically located in the bustling Northeast Corridor region, surrounded by much more populous states like Pennsylvania, Maryland, and New Jersey, Delaware remains a state with a relatively low population. And while many factors contribute to this unique demographic characteristic, several key reasons stand out. One of the primary reasons Delaware's population has remained so stubbornly small is due to its location squished in between other, larger metropolitan areas. When Delaware became its own independent entity from Pennsylvania in 1704, Philadelphia was well on its way to becoming a major economic hub for the region. And because Delaware was originally part of Pennsylvania, there was no natural need for the lower counties to have a major city of their own. Today, the state's continued proximity to larger cities like Philadelphia and Baltimore allows Delaware residents to easily commute for work and leisure activities. And this means that business and economy, which is what usually spurs people to move, never fully materialize within Delaware cities in the same way it did for Philadelphia. Much of Delaware's economic activity is centered around specialized industries like corporate law, banking, and chemical engineering, rather than diverse, populous sectors like technology or manufacturing. And this economic specialization doesn't really necessitate a large labor force. That said, Delaware is home to a lot of companies. It's just that these same companies don't actually physically operate within the state. But while Delaware's location plays a role, so too does its physical geography. While the state does have appealing coastal areas, much of its inland territory consists of flat, low-lying areas that are prone to flooding. And surprisingly, Delaware has the lowest average elevation of any other state in the country, including notoriously low and flat Florida. On average, Delaware lies just 60 feet above sea level, compared to Florida's average of 100 feet. This makes large-scale urban and suburban development less feasible than in neighboring states, with more varied topography that is perhaps less likely to suffer catastrophic flooding. Finally, it's essential to consider Delaware's small size. As the second smallest state in the country, there's simply less land available for residential development. This limited amount of space naturally caps the number of people who can reside in the state, making it less likely to host large metropolitan areas compared to its neighbors. Today, Delaware is home to just over 1 million residents, making it the 45th largest state in the country. This would contrast with Pennsylvania with 13 million people, New Jersey with 9.3 million people, and Maryland with 6.2 million people. Washington, D.C., a single city that is only about 68 square miles in size, is home to approximately 700,000 people. This would make Delaware one of the most underpopulated states in the country. When it comes to state boundaries, Delaware holds a unique distinction in the form of a 12-mile half circle. And this boundary isn't just an oddball geographic feature. It's a product of complex negotiations, history, and quirks of colonial law that have remained intact to this day. The 12-mile circle centers on the courthouse in Newcastle, Delaware, and it defines the state's northern boundary with Pennsylvania. Remarkably, it's the only circular state boundary in the United States that's not based on a natural feature. The origins of this unique border trace back to a resolution of land disputes between the Penn family, the proprietors of Pennsylvania which used to own Delaware, and the Calvert family, the proprietors of Maryland. Initially, both families had overlapping claims that led to tension and conflicts. To resolve these issues, they agreed upon a demarcation in 1681 that would become known as the 12-mile circle. This boundary was later ratified by the British Crown and was meant to grant Delaware, then known as the Lower Counties, certain economic privileges, including unimpeded access to the Delaware River. The 12-mile circle has had lasting impacts on the shape and governance of Delaware. Most notably, it led to the odd wedge of disputed land between Maryland and Pennsylvania. That was ultimately awarded to Delaware. The boundary also ensures that the state has control over the entire width of the Delaware River within the circle, granting it significant strategic and economic advantages. For example, Delaware has the authority to approve or deny projects that could impact navigation or water quality within the circle. Today, the 12-mile circle serves as a point of interest and local pride for Delawareans. It's become a subject of curiosity, academic study, and even legal challenges. And despite various shifts in governance and the evolution of statehood, the circle has remained intact throughout the United States history, a testament to the enduring power of colonial-era decisions. Its presence is an anomaly in an otherwise straightforward, grid-like or natural feature-based state borders commonly found in the U.S. Delaware is a small state in size and population, but it's managed to create for itself a unique identity and history that stands out from some of the country's largest states. And while today a mere 1 million people call the first state home, that could change in the future as more people leave the more expensive cities such as New York City and Boston. I hope you enjoyed learning more about Delaware and why it's so small compared to its neighbors. If you did, please subscribe to my channel. And if you want to watch more of my videos, you can do so here. Thanks for watching. See you next time.